Hello, I'm Agatha Thrash, a staff physician from Uchee Pines Institute. Here we deal a good bit with foods, and most people like very flavorful foods. They like them intensely flavorful, some of them pungent enough that they might even be harmful to us. During the next half an hour, we'll be talking about some of these things having to do with very flavorful foods. You might like to join us and see which of those are good and which may not be good.
The following program presents principles designed to promote good health and is not intended to take the place of personalized professional care. The opinions and ideas expressed are those of the speaker. Viewers are encouraged to draw their own conclusions about the information presented. Welcome to Help Yourself to Health with Dr. Agatha Thrash of Uchee Pines Institute. And now, here's your host, Dr. Thrash.
You have probably heard the old proverb, variety is the spice of life. We like to say that, and in fact, we like to have our food so that it's spiced up, and we even say that about our food. When it's nice and spicy, we say this is a variety of food that we like very much. And so as we think about spicy foods and very flavorful foods, some of which are intensely flavorful, such things, even from salt to cinnamon, we sort of like all of these, and we believe that we have done well when we have food that tastes so pungently flavorful that we call it a spice. Some of these spices are so strong that they actually burn the insides of the mouth. If they burn the inside of your mouth, is it possible they may damage you somewhere else? They may be uncomfortable in the blood, or maybe in the kidneys, or perhaps in the digestive tract. We'll be discussing some of these issues and what makes a spice, or an herb, and if there are some ways that we can get nicely flavorful things without using something that may harm us. I have asked Dr. Wynn Horsley, who is one of my colleagues at Uchee Pines, to join me in presenting this program. This is Dr. Wynn Horsley, a staff physician at Uchee Pines, originally from Canada, and now lecturing widely in the United States, and one of our teachers at Uchee Pines, a staff physician who sees a lot of our patients and is board certified physiatrist. And we're very happy to have you with us today. So with all of this, now I'd like to ask you some things about herbs, not having to do with patient care much, but what is the difference, or how can we distinguish, or does it make any difference, what is a culinary and a medicinal herb, what we use in the kitchen and what we might use to help people who are sick with something?
I think it is a worthwhile distinction. A culinary or culinary, which is the right way?
Well, let's see, with all your language talents, maybe you could say what it ought to be. Culinary?
I don't know. Culinary is what I've heard maybe more, but in my experience with spices, actually I'd say that Mexico has given me more background than any. And there in Mexico, they do use kitchen spices quite a lot. Of course, they're used here in the U.S. And the big distinction, I think, is this, aside from just saying one is for kitchen and food and medicinal herbs are for sicknesses, and it's this, that if it is spices or herbs for food, it's something that you would hopefully be able to use quite continuously, time after time, without any ill effect. And a medicinal herb would hopefully not have to be used very much. It would be used, perhaps for a few days to get a person over the hump of some sickness that he's in. And perhaps one could tolerate then some negative features to it if it were to be used for a long time, but one will put up with that for one or two or even a dozen uses for the days that the person is sick.
Are you thinking of something like ginger?
Yes. Now, people might argue on that one. I was never one that was very happy with the ginger cookies. The kind of hot taste didn't attract me. But the Orientals, I've heard, they love to use ginger customarily in their cooking, and perhaps it could be argued that it has a place as a culinary herb.
It is in places in Asia where I have been. The use of ginger is very widespread, but extremely small quantities. You're hardly aware that it's in the food. Sometimes you may say, there's a flavor here that I think I recognize, but I don't know what it is. And they will say it's ginger. Okay. And of course, then you say, well, yes, it is. It's ginger. But you have not been so aware of it that not like gingerbread cookies.
Okay.
You know, you can tell the difference quite a lot.
Now that actually makes a good point, because ginger in those instances is being used as a culinary herb, and yet it is a very effective medicinal herb. It relieves nausea, dizziness, motion sickness. A study was done comparing it to one of the common antiemetic or motion sickness drugs that's used, Dramamine, and they found that the ginger was just as effective, but without the side effects.
Now, a lot of times we are concerned about anything that's used just ordinarily. We're concerned about its use in pregnancy. Do you know if it's safe in pregnancy?
You know, whether it is or not, when my sister was pregnant and had an awful lot of nausea, just intolerable, I sent her quite a dose of it to put into little capsules. I don't think, maybe I did look that up, I don't think that there is a danger to it in pregnancy.
Yes, I have also just looked and have not found anything that would indicate that there was any danger in pregnancy, but didn't know if anything new had been discovered on that. But I have always felt quite safe in telling a woman who has nausea and vomiting of pregnancy that she could use ginger. And if you consider the drug alternatives, there's no comparison.
Absolutely.
So I absolutely take the ginger.
Absolutely.
Because the drugs work through the nervous system, and ginger works more locally.
Yes.
So we can be very thankful for that. Then there are some other herbs and spices that you might think of as being something you could use for a short period. Rather than on a long-term basis. Something like cinnamon. Now, I know that in a lot of countries, and in fact in this country, we use quite a lot of cinnamon. It's a favorite.
It was a favorite of mine in childhood. Cinnamon toast was one of the best things.
Oh, and mine too. And cinnamon tea and cinnamon buns and rolls.
I never got to know cinnamon tea till I was down in Mexico, and I was in the north of Mexico where they have pretty cold winters, and they would serve a big kettle of cinnamon tea to the whole church group that had gathered, and it was amazing. The effect was that you'd come in with quite cold fingers and toes, you drink the tea, and within a few minutes they would just warm up. It was a very definite effect. It wasn't just warming up from being in the warm room.
It was warming. It was a sort of flush that you could feel in the fingers.
You could feel that blood just going through the fingers.
Yes, I remember a similar thing with Russian tea. I don't know if it originated in Russia. I had it in actually had it in Canada. Russian tea, and it was had a cinnamon, very strong cinnamon taste, and it was delightful tea. This was probably 40 years ago, and I remember having cold hands and the flush that you would get from it, and I had forgotten about that until you mentioned that. But it is very, very good to warm up the hands. And,
in that regard, I think one should say something, because people often use alcohol for that effect too. It does cause dilation of blood vessels and brings blood to the extremities. In either case, it would be unwise to use it if the person is going to be facing more cold weather, because in fact that is going to cause more loss of one's body internal heat. So I've read stories of where someone would take his bit of alcoholic beverage when he's still out facing the cold, and it would bring on you know,
he thought he was doing something good, and it actually made him freeze to death.
That's right.
Yes. Well, that of course is a thing that we need to be concerned about anytime we tell someone to use this or that for a special effect. I have asked Shannon Jenkins to show us some other things that can warm up the hands, and one thing that's very nice is a hand rub. You know, hand rubs and arm rubs are not the most common thing. We usually think of a back rub or a foot rub, but not a hand and arm rub. And the several times that I have had the very good opportunity to have a hand rub, I've always been very happy for that. It has made quite a great deal of difference to the way that I felt, and I was also amazed that I felt during the time I was getting the rub that I actually needed it. Maybe I felt that my arms were under spasm, or I was more tired than I had thought, and it just does marvels of good. So I've asked Shannon Jenkins to show us how to do a hand and arm rub. Shannon is a lifestyle educator student in our classes at Uchee Pines, and this is Melissa Thrash under the sheet here, who is going to be the very happy recipient of a hand and arm rub. So Shannon, show us how that goes.
Begin by putting a sheet over the client that you are going to be massaging, and then over the arm, just place your hands and press. This is the first thing you do before your skin touches their skin.
That looks as if it might be very relaxing.
Yes, it is very nice, and just go up and down the arm once. Then you'll want to uncover the arm and apply something. I have lotion here, but that's actually not the best thing to use because it will soak in quite fast. Massage oil or cream is much better. You want to just, with a long stroke, apply this.
Oh, that looks soothing.
All the way down the arm. Just do this a couple times. Hold the wrist with one hand while you do this.
Looks like you sort of get a rhythm there that goes in a very soothing way up and down, hand over hand.
And then, about on the upper arm, just lift and squeeze the skin.
That massages the biceps muscle there.
And you can do it on the back
and
also.
There,
Get
the
triceps.
And the tired muscles just relax under your hand.
And move to the forearm and do the same thing. A long, smooth stroke. And then lift and squeeze on the top and underneath. Then on the other side of the arm, with the thumb, just alternate with each hand. Long, smooth strokes. And then go all the way up the arm again. And all the way back up to the hand, and with your thumbs, rub back and forth on the back of the hand. And there's bones right in here. You can feel in between the bones, push slightly, just lightly, up to the wrist bones. And then down on the knuckles of the fingers, circle each knuckle, and lightly press in between, and then slide down and pinch right at the end. Just go around each knuckle, slide down, pinch at the end. Around every finger, just the same way.
Piano players would really enjoy this, wouldn't they, after they've had a session of practice?
Yes. All right, then you turn the hand over and just rub in like a fan sort of motion, back and forth.
Let's see, you start with those big muscles down there at the heel of the hand.
And then take your thumb and press and go kind of in a circle in the middle of the hand.
And the person just concentrates on relaxing.
Yes. If they get tense, just give them a little shake there, and they will loosen up. And then,
it's as if she's pretty loose.
Yes. Then the metacarpals here, you kind of shake them to loosen them up a little bit and make them a little more relaxed. Now raise the arm above the head and rest it on the hip. And with your hands toward the back of the arm, go down with pressure and come lightly up. And down on the other side and come lightly up.
Now you're squeezing up or you're squeezing together?
Together.
Squeeze your fingers together and slide up. Okay.
Just repeat that a few times. And then rest the elbow on your abdomen and go with a smooth stroke down to the shoulder and slightly drag it up. And then do a nice long stroke and come up here and just lift and squeeze on both sides. A nice long stroke, and then return it to the table. And do a nice long stroke. And then?
Is that a light stroke now?
Yes,
or
a little bit of pressure, but not too hard.
Does that mean you're about to finish?
Yes. And then slowly just tap their arm. And you can do a nerve stroke lightly with the fingers. And then drape their arm again and do compressions one more time. Down and up the arm. And that finishes it.
Now I can already tell that she is much warmer than she was. Here, let me check. Sure enough, the hand is a lot warmer than it was. Now I'd like to point out that while Shannon has been taught how to do this in a class, you can see that it's so easy to do, that anyone can do it. It's simply a rub, and it can do the same kind of thing for you by a physical means that many people depend on something chemical like the cinnamon tea. So it's very easy to accomplish this kind of thing without going through the nerves. So thank you, Melissa and Shannon, and we'll let you take this with you as you go. And I am so grateful that the Lord has made it so that we can respond to this kind of thing. Now, we also respond in the extremities with various foods that we eat. And I have a very nice demonstration for you with Lydia Seda. Lydia is a lifestyle counselor at Uchee Pines and knows a lot about food. So what are you going to tell us about foods today?
Well, Dr. Thrash, what I'd like to share with you today is about vinegar. Vinegar is commonly used in salad dressings and in pickles. Now, the thing is that vinegar basically are apples or some sort of product that's been decomposed and it's fermented. Usually the flavor that we may taste from vinegar is an acidic acid, and that acid has been known to cause problems with nerves and the stomach. And in actuality, vinegar in and of itself can cause gastritis. Between that, aspirin, and alcohol, they are the top 3 gastritis causers, or the cause for gastritis in the United States. And what we also have found is that, as I mentioned, pickles also have vinegar. But it's possible to have a vinegar-free pickles, and if you would like to have that recipe, just please contact www.3abn.org and then go on to the link, and you'll be able to be connected with Uchee Pines website, and this way you'll be able to get that recipe. But right now, let me also share with you about for other ways of food or products being fermented even within our bodies. If we are eating in between meals, there is fermentation. Our food should be digested within 5 hours. If food is delayed more than that time, fermentation starts to begin. Even eating something as small as an almond perhaps, or even a slice of an apple can cause fermentation if our food has not been able to digest, have a full 5 hours to digest. Then what happens? Well, Dr. Agatha, We have problems, again, with gastritis. We might have problems with perception. Our thinking is just not the way we would like it to be.
We may also get a headache.
That's also true.
A stomach ache, a backache, and we may not function well. It's a poor functioning. When the stomach gets out of order, the whole body is out of order.
And I think also what they have found is that children, if they're given candies or cookies, even juice, in between meals, they have found these young people to be more susceptible to infections as well.
So the best idea is have our children eat their meals, take nothing between meals, and they will eat a better meal and be healthier for it.
Exactly.
That's very good. Thank you so much, Lydia.
Oh, thank you. You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that about vinegar. And of course, if vinegar gets in the bloodstream, the acetic acid gets in the bloodstream, then we can have damage to the kidneys as well. And this just means bad news everywhere. So acetic acid, which is what gives the sour flavor of many salad dressings and the like, is not the very best for the interior of the body. Now, Don Miller has some things that I would like him to present for you on what a culinary and what medicinal herb might be, and what can you do to substitute for spices in the kitchen. Okay. This is Don Miller, who is a lifestyle counselor at Uchee Pines.
It's the big debate. You know, there's lots of debates in the food arena. What's a fruit, what's a vegetable, and also the one about which is an herb and which is a spice. And we don't want to really debate this too far, but I'm going to mention a few that we consider to be spices. And what I differentiate between an herb and a spice, when it's hot in your mouth, is heating your mouth with an aromatic oil. And when you swallow that aromatic oil, it stays hot all the way through your body. These are things like curry, nutmeg, cloves, ginger. We've already mentioned some of these. Cinnamon. And granted, they taste great, but they do burn all the way through. And we find that countries who take things like the hot spices like red pepper or cayenne, these things burn the mouth, burn the body, and the countries that use a lot of these products seem to have more esophageal and stomach cancer. We find countries like India with their curry. We find countries like Mexico with their cayenne pepper. And then we find places like Korea, as Lydia just mentioned, with the fermented foods and their kimchi, will have large instances of esophageal and stomach cancer. And so these things are burning all the way down and all the way through the body. There are other things that we take that are also very hot in the mouth. I've been into some onions that would make my eyes water, but that's an enzyme, and as soon as it's into the stomach, it's denatured and it's no longer burning. Garlic can do the same thing. And so I find that if I want to spice up my food, I spice it up with things like onion or garlic. Now, I don't think I really want to have a sweet roll with garlic on it. And so how do I make a sweet roll that used to be the old cinnamon bun? Because I used to love cinnamon buns. You can make some nice combinations with things like cardamom and coriander. Usually about 4 parts of coriander with 1 part of cardamom mixed together, and sprinkle that over. Now, we've got to be honest with ourselves. We're used to the taste of cinnamon, and now we're trying to break the habit. It's like trying to break the habit from chocolate to carob. At first, it doesn't quite taste the same. As a matter of fact, for some people, it's nowhere near the same. But it's an educated taste that we develop, and the more you use these things, the better they will taste. So let's learn how to use the herbs like thyme and all these very nice herbs that we can find. I don't want to mention them all. You can go to your grocery store and see a whole shelf of the things. Learn to cook with nice herbs in your food and stay away from these things that burn your mouth and burn all the way through. And I think we'll find ourselves having a little bit better health in the long run.
Yes, I feel quite certain that we will. I have right here a report showing that the active ingredient in cinnamon, cinnamaldehyde, is probably toxic to human cells. So that really hurts me because I really do like the taste, the flavor of cinnamon. Thank you so much, Don Miller. Then I have here another big one, and that's curcumin. Curcumin is in turmeric, And we have a lot of Oriental foods, and some South American foods depend on turmeric for a nice color and a nice flavor. Curcumin is one of those, or turmeric is one of those, what we might call a spice for the kitchen, that is also medicinal. If it has irritating qualities, it's only very slight, not very big, just very slight irritating properties. And curcumin has some anti-inflammatory properties and some slight anticoagulant properties, meaning that it will assist the body not to clot its blood inside our blood vessels. A very nice article that came out of Miyazaki, Japan, showed that curcumin is non-toxic and it is tolerated quite well, and it's anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and anti-cancer properties are beginning to be quite well known in many parts of the world. So that's a very good thing to know. This research was reported in the very prestigious medical journal named Cancer. Unfortunately, I should say something about coffee. I wish I could say that people did not drink coffee. Coffee is a medicinal herb. It is not a beverage drink. It is not a good beverage tea. It has so many things that it does wrong to the human body. I have here from the New York County Medical Association an article on coffee and its deleterious effects on the nervous system. Then we have written a book called Poison with a capital C, which tells about the evils of coffee. Again, I wish I didn't have to tell you about this, because the aroma of coffee is good and it used to be my very favorite drink. But it isn't good for the pregnant woman, it isn't good for the unborn child, and it isn't good for the woman who is past the age of 50, because it leaches calcium from her bones and makes it so that her bones are less firm and more likely to break than they need to be. And then, of course, some things about chocolate, another excellent flavor, but not so good for the body. We have a very good chocolate substitute called carob. Carob looks like, tastes like, and works up like chocolate, but is not chocolate and does not have the deleterious effects on the body that chocolate has. Now, our Father has made for us, our Heavenly Father has made for us an enormous variety of foods that can please our palates without using anything that might be harmful to us.